Hi friends, it's Lisa Mears. Welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, welcome. Today I'm so excited to share how I made this adorable girl gnomed shape card using the new Baker Gnome die set from Scrap Diva Designs. In this video, I'll walk you through the step-by-step process of creating this Valentine's Day girl-themed gnome, but stick around because at the end, I'll show you how I transformed her into versions for different seasons and holidays including St. Patrick's Day, spring, fall, and even Christmas. So if you're interested in the Baker Gnome die set or any other products I'm using today, be sure to check out the links in the description box below. And don't forget, if you shop at Scrap Diva Designs, you can use my coupon code Lisa Mears to save 10% on your entire order. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first I want to let you know that the paper that I'm using is the Scrap Diva Designs Love Struck Valentine paper that was released last month. So I'm starting with the baker's hat, and you see the die there that I used. I went ahead and die cut it with 2 pieces of pattern paper. The piece that I'm inking the edges right now, that is the actual hat that I'm going to be using for my gnome, but I also die cut a piece of the red floral pattern paper because I'm going to cut this little strip out of the center by just cutting over those lines that are pressed into that pattern paper, and that's I'm going to piece on to my hat. So you saw me ink up the edges of that floral pattern. I used some Pink Flamingo scrapbook.com ink just to add a little bit of pink ink to the edges because I love adding ink to the edges of my die cuts. I think that it just adds some more depth to those die cuts. Okay, I finished the hat, so now I'm going to move on to her ponytails. You see the die there that I'm using. I went ahead and die cut some brown cardstock. I want to bring these close so you can see the lines that it puts in the cardstock when you die cut these ponytails. So what I'm going to do is I am going to bring in my dark chocolate ink. This is a very dark brown ink, and I'm just going to take a finger dauber and go over the tops of these ponytails just to bring out some of those lines, just so that it gets a little bit more detail on those die cuts. In addition, I'm adding some ink to the edges of the ponytails, again just for some extra definition. So if those are finished, I'll move these aside. The next die is her dress. I die cut it with some teal pattern paper. Again, I'm just inking the edges. This time I'm using the Oasis ink from scrapbook.com. So this die comes with 2 items that can be placed in her hand. This one is a rolling pin, and it comes in 2 dies. So I have the die that has the handles on the rolling pin, and then there's also the die that puts the top of the rolling pin. You can actually do 2 different colors or 2 different patterns of cardstock, which is what I did. I have a pink cardstock, which I inked the edges up in pink for the top part of that rolling pin, and then I just did a pattern, which you're really not going to be able to see the pattern. I just wanted that teal color for the handles, and then you can just put, if you wanted to, a heart in the middle because the heart does come with the rolling pin. But in my case, I am going to stamp a sentiment. I thought putting a sentiment on the rolling pin would be super cute, especially since this is a card that I'm making. So I pulled out my sentiment strips. These are the Valentine sentiment strips from Pretty Pink Posh, and I found one that would fit. I'm using the sentiment that says love you lots, and I'm just going to ink it up with some black ink and stamp it down. Now I did mention there are 2 items that come with this die set that you can put in this gnome's hands, one being this rolling pin, but there's also a coffee cup that you can put in her hand. And I'll show you that one a little bit later in this video. So I went ahead and glued the top of the rolling pin onto the base, and I'll set that aside, and now I'm going to move on to the hands. I also have the nose. There's also some bows that you can put in her hair, and there's the coffee cup die. You can see there's also another heart there. So I'm going to go ahead and set that aside. I am working on the skin colors, which I die cut out of a very light brown cardstock, and I'm just inking up the edges with my scrapbook.com gingerbread ink. So I have the nose and then the two hands, just adding some ink to the edges there. Next, I'm going to put these bows together. There are two different dies for the bows. There's the bottom, which you can die cut in a different color, and then there's the top layering piece. So you can see how I did the bottom in teal and the top in red. So you can see the teal peeking through from the second layer of that bow. Now there's also a piece for the center of the bow, which I die cut out of the same teal cardstock. I'll go ahead and add the center to each one of those bows. You can add these to her ponytail or even to her hat would be super cute. So now that all of my smaller pieces are ready, I need to add these to the actual shape gnome, and there are three large dies that are the shape of the gnome that I am showing you here that all layer together. So we have this smaller one, which I die cut out of white cardstock. And this is the die that you're going to build all of those smaller pieces onto. And then that cutout will go on top of the next layer, which I die cut out of red, and then you have the largest layer, which I die cut out of white again. So you can see how those all layer nicely. And the middle layer actually has stitching on the edges, which is really, really pretty. So I have the smallest layer, which I die cut out of white cardstock. That's going to be my base. But I also took the same die and just die cut the bottom part out of this pink glitter paper, and these are the shoes. Now you don't have to do this step. You can always just not include the shoes or just leave it as the white background, but I thought this would be super cute to have some shoes on this little gnome. So I'm just going to trim off these ends that I don't need so that I just have the shape of the shoes, and I'm going to go ahead and glue those down to my white base. So if you are going to include shoes, make sure you put those down first, and then next will be the dress. Just line it up with the round part of the bottom of the dress. You'll line that up with the white layer. Next, you're going to add the ponytails. Again, you're just lining it up with the white layer of the gnome girl shape. So we'll add the right one and the left one. Next, I'm going to add the hat. This is so easy to put together. I think the hardest part of it all is just picking out what papers you want to use. Now for the nose, I just put a piece of foam on the back of the nose, and I'm popping it up there and just lining it up with where the hat meets the dress. And next I'm going to put the rolling pin in her hands. So you can really position this however you want to. The hands you can put on the left or right side, or you can put one on top and one on the bottom. You can put them both on the top. However you want this little girl gnome to hold this rolling pin. This is so cute. So go ahead and put the rolling pin down first, and then you can position the hands how you want them. Now I am going to put a little piece of foam on the back of these hands so that they do have some dimension, so it looks like they're a little bit popped up or over top of that rolling pin. Now, you don't have to just stick to the rolling pin in her hands. As I said, there's a coffee cup option, or you can make it hot chocolate or tea, whatever you wanted to do. But you can put die cuts, anything that you want to. You can put a little sentiment, maybe that you cut out of a rectangle and you want to make a little sign. You can put that in her hand to put any kind of sentiment on here. Since this is kind of like a Valentine's Day theme, I could have also put a large heart die cut in her hand. That would have been super cute as well. And I'll show you some other options when I share my other cards with you at the end of this video. So next I'm going to go ahead and add her bows to her hair. And I think that she turned out so cute. So now I'm going to add her to the red stitched layer, and then I'll add her to the white layer. Now you can put her on the front of a card, you can put her on a scrapbook page. And I want to show you here I have an A2 size card base, which is a standard card base 4¼ by 5½ inches, and she does fit nicely on the front of a card. But rather than putting her on a card front, we are going to make her into a shaped card by taking the largest die and putting it slightly over the left edge of the A2 size card base so that it's slightly over the fold in that card base. I'm just going to hold this down with some mint tape, and I'll be running this through my die cut machine. When that comes out of the die cutting machine, just going to remove the excess cardstock, and now you can see that you have your card base. You can see that it opens up and it's the shape of the gnome. I'm just going to put some glue on the front of the card base, and then I'll add my girl gnome right to the top. So I'm just going to line up the edges, and it's going to line up perfectly because they were both cut with the same die. So just press that down really well. And I think she turned out so cute. So there's my little Valentine girl gnome. And now, as promised, here are the other gnome cards that I made for different seasons and holidays. Starting with St. Patrick's Day, I made this cute little girl gnome using the Doodlebug over the rainbow pattern paper and some of the little stickers and ephemera. You can see that I put a die cut 3-leaf clover in her hand from one of the ephemera packs. I also added some gold glitter shoes to her feet. Instead of adding bows to her hair, I just used the little hair ties and die cut them in pink and added them to her ponytails. I also added a little flower in front of her. And here's one I created for spring using an old paper pack from Echo Park. It's their spring paper. I added pink glitter ponytail holders to her hair. Matches the pink strip on the hat. I added a tulip to her hands. This was a sticker from the sticker pack, which I added to cardstock and then just cut it out and popped it up on some foam. I used a flower embellishment also on her hat. I think this turned out so cute. Just think of all the possibilities for Easter. You can even put an Easter egg in her hand. I also created a fall themed girl gnome, and I used the Lawn Fawn Fall Fling paper pad, which is an older paper pad. It has the little acorns and fall leaves, so cute. I put a little coffee mug in her hand. You can see the coffee mug. That's the mug that's included in this Baker Gnome die set. Here I added the little bow on her hat and also put some fall leaves on her hat. And the fall leaves is a die from Pretty Pink Posh. And next is my little Christmas gnome girl. I used the Doodlebug Gingerbread Kisses collection. You can see the pattern paper. I also have the rolling pin and some ephemera pieces from that collection. So I have the teaspoon, and then there's a little recipe card. I thought that was super cute, so added all of that in her hand with that rolling pin. I will have these cards up for sale in my Etsy shop at Lisa Mears Designs. There is a link down in the description box below. If you're interested in making these cards for yourself, I will have product links in the description box below for all the supplies I've used, as well as on my coordinating blog post, and that link will be down below as well. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, and if you like videos like this, make sure you click that subscribe button. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have a great day. Bye-bye.